What up, internet? How y'all doing? Yeah. So as some of you guys from the site from auburnsports.com know, kind of a weird situation for me and my peeps. We the whole goal for us this week was my daughter was going for an interview up at Transylvania University, which is where I graduated from my undergrad. She's looking at that school. So our goal was to come up here, interview for the scholarship, and then hurry our ass back down to Montgomery so that I would do the show from the house and everything would be Gucci. However, due to this weather situation, we ended up deciding to stay. And so I am currently in Lexington, Kentucky at my nephew's pad just inside the Beltline here in Lexington, Kentucky. Watch the game and all that kind of stuff, but we just decided to stay above that storm, man. We didn't want to be on I-65 this morning. At that time, it looked like the weather was going to be really, really bad. It is going to be bad, but I think it's happening now. I probably could have snuck through there, but I didn't know this storm was going to speed up and whatnot. So, score graphic wrong. Shoot. You right about that, bro. I'm probably going to have to fix that. I kind of estimated what it was going to be before the game. Let me see if I can change that real quick. I think I did the right one. Let's see. No, I didn't. Let me do that really quick, guys. I know this is scintillating, entertaining stuff here. One issue that I came with, I don't think I'm going to be able to do Skype because I've got to have all that stuff so that I can hear the Skype calls and you can hear the Skype calls. And obviously, since I'm not home, I don't have that. So that makes it a little tough. So we may not be able to take calls today, which would really suck. That's a big part of what we do, particularly when BMAT can get on the horn, and we can get Doc on the horn, and we can get a Auburn alumni on the horn. Of course, Rux usually leads us off. But, things happen sometimes, and I'm doing the best I can with what I got. Oh, I'm in the wrong daggone thing there. That's the reason why. It's a scintillating video, I'm sure. Here we go. All right. How about that? That gets you right there, MD Harrell. So I guess what we're going to do is we'll talk about the game a little bit, and then I'll just talk with you guys in the chat. Like I said, I thought we would be home for this, and we're not, so I'm kind of having to do it here. All I've got is my laptop. I don't even have like a good proper microphone. I know that sucks. There is some good news. Since I'm in Kentucky, I'm able to get some bourbons that I can't get in Alabama, and some of them you can't even get in Georgia just because I'm up in Kentucky. And you guys know I wouldn't do a brain drain, even one where we couldn't talk on the phone, without some quality bourbons. So I got something here I never see in Alabama. It's the Four Roses Small Batch Select. Snagged that bad boy at the liquor barn. I know it sounds like, hey, man, you got to go to the liquor barn for that? Hell yeah, man, do they have everything there except Buffalo Trace? I said, hey, man, where's your Buffalo Trace stash? And the dude's like, bro, we don't get any Buffalo Trace here. We get nothing. No Eagle Rare, no Buffalo Trace, no Blanton's. You're on your own. And I was like, damn, I thought you guys were in Kentucky. But they are in Kentucky. They just don't get it much. So anyway, yeah, no tie today either, Chip. Like I said, I was expecting to be home, bro. All right, so anyway, we're going to crack open this Small Batch Select. I've never had this stuff. I'm pretty fired up about it, honestly. Put a little bit of that brown water in my cup here. My nephew, I hooked him up. He is an EKU grad. He's actually in medical school up here at Kentucky, so he's got the EKU glass we're going to drink out of, and then, of course, the brown water. To you guys, man, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you the way that I should be, but, you do what you got to do. Interesting. Dude, look at that thing. It says the schedules. I updated that schedule thing. God, I'm fussed about that. See, look. I got the schedule right, yo. There we go. That's the current situation. Oh, first of all, thank you very much. Love the cats. Also known as Hornatius for that super chat. Appreciate you, bro. You're always there for us on the show. There's Four Roses, man. It's gentle on the front end. I'm still feeling that burn a little bit, which is good. So it has kind of a long hold on that. I'm liking it. I don't drink as much Four Roses as I should, honestly. We haven't. I don't think I've ever had Four Roses on the show, even going back to football season. Plains Old Joe says, "Why is Blanton so hard to find?" Then Triplewood says, "Not very good IMO." How dare you? I happen to love Blantons. But, it happens like that. Let's talk about basketball a little bit. Now we've got the bourbon out of the way. A pretty damn impressive performance. That was the largest margin of victory Auburn's had against Georgia at home since, I think they said 77 or 78. Something like that. That's something else. Ooh, I'm getting a little text here about the offensive line coach. So this source of mine, who I trust, I trust, says they're making a push for Ryan Pugh. I am skeptical if Pugh would do that. I mean, I know he's young and he's an Auburn guy. I understand, but he's at Troy. He's an offensive coordinator. He was I don't know if it was a semifinalist, but he was in the Broyles Award conversation there, at least initially. So I don't know, man. I don't know if that's the kind of move that he would be wanting to make. As you guys know, JB Grimes, he wasn't fired. He left. He left. He left to go nowhere. And it's a kind of a complicated situation there about what went down. But he was, I think it's fair to say, at least from the bunker perspective, he was the embattled offensive line coach, and now he is not. I thought that I know he had spoken to Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri. He didn't go there. I know he had spoken to Rhett Lashley, who's now the offensive coordinator at Miami. Didn't go there. They hired somebody else, I think, this morning, or they're going to be hiring somebody. So I don't really know what's the next step for JB. You guys probably don't care about that as much. You want to know what the next step for Auburn is. And it sounds as though right now they're at least talking to Ryan Pugh. I don't know if he's going to go for that. I'm also told that Dustin Fry, who was the offensive line coach at Arkansas under Chad Morris, is also in the picture. At this point, I would imagine it would be one of those two guys, but we'll just have to see what happens on that. Sorry for going off into football, or chat on the basketball chat, but it's still stuff. MD Harrell, whose opinion we trust, obviously, says just promote Kendall Simmons. I think everybody loves Kendall Simmons. Guy's won a Super Bowl. Guy was an NFL player for a number of years. He's also a certified badass. And he's at Auburn. He was I'm not sure what you would call him, some kind of an assistant to JB, kind of learning how to coach offensive line. Dude knows a whole lot about how to play it. But sometimes it's different becoming a coach, and he spent time at Auburn. I think it's been 2 years now for Kendall. And I think he's definitely worth taking a look at. But I don't know, man. That's a tough position. It's a position that really needs immediate help at Auburn. And I think you're probably going to want to get a veteran in there, somebody who's been coaching for a while, to make sure you can shore that up. Because I think this Auburn team football can be really good next year. Offensive line's got to take a step forward, even though they're replacing all 5 starters. Well, 4 out of 5. If you want, Caleb Kim was a starter early in the season. All right, let's talk about basketball, guys. Sorry, I didn't mean to get off track here. Let me get the final box up here. The big things to take away from this game, I thought the bench was terrific. Ant was probably as good as he's been all year. Had a great second half. I think he was 5 for 5. Let me see. In the second half. And Samir was good in the first half. But anyway, Samir's a starter. Ant comes off the bench. Al Flanagan was really good in the first half. He gave him a little something. Jamal had a 3-pointer, one in the first half, one in the second. I think it was 1-1. Yeah, he goes 2 of 3 from 3-point range, 6 points off the bench. So I think Auburn finished with a massive advantage, points off the bench. I don't have it with me. At one point, it was 15-0 late in the game. So that was huge. That's something that BP's been talking about. I got to get more off my bench. He got more off his bench. Points off turnovers, that's what it was. 0 to 15 in Auburn's favor. Pushing the tempo a little bit on a Georgia team that likes to push the tempo. But Auburn can do a lot of different things. I mean, they can slow things down if they want to. They can also run. They're born to run. That's kind of what they do. And, that's good stuff for them. Big runs. The game changed there late in the second half. I think with let's see, Georgia did not get a bucket for the last 6 minutes and 30 seconds of the first half. Auburn got a pretty big lead going into halftime. Coming out of halftime, Georgia had another bucket in the first 6 minutes of the second half. At that point, Auburn was up 15-17, pushed it to 21. Then they had that big run through. Holy shit. You've got to be kidding me. A super chat from Mr. Duke for $100. Holy shit. Thank you very much for your support. I just had that in your honor. That's a nuclear chat right there. Oh my gosh. I'm going to give him a full pimp in the chat for that. Thank you very much for that. We're going to list you as a supporter of the show for like ever. Thank you very much. I was bummed because I don't have much stuff. You guys know I take this stuff pretty seriously now. I love drinking. I love talking. Love having you guys on the horn. It's like a passion of mine. I love it. But kind of got stuck on the other side of this storm, and it is what it is. But anyway, Prestige Worldwide, Mr. Duke says. Thank you so much, man. We have, oh my God. Thank you very much. We will continue shouting you out for like months. You're the best. Write this down so I don't forget. Thank you. Going through some more stuff. Let's see the big runs coming into the halftime, coming out of halftime. Auburn got it big on them, and at that point, there really wasn't much to do. You get up 20 on this team. Anthony Edwards is the guy they've got to have. He was out of the game more or less until about midway through the second half, and at that point, I mean, it doesn't matter anymore. Samir was great in the first half, 10 points at halftime. Second half, Anthony McLemore was kind of the star. Gave them a big lift. He was 5 for 5 to open that half, and he may have finished that. I wasn't watching the last 2 minutes or so because I was getting the graphics together that weren't right to start with. MD Harold knows what I'm talking about, but still. A couple things that freaked me out, though, a little bit. They're still doing that thing. We've talked about it on the show a bunch, how they just struggle to get the ball inside to Austin. Like, they keep trying to pass it directly to him while staring at him, and everyone on the other team knows that they're going to give the ball to Austin. So they front him and back him. They tip the ball away, and it's an absolute calamity. You know what my granddad would call that? He'd call that like a monkey fucking a football is what he would say. It's just a calamity. And it happens again in the first half, happened again in the second half. They're going to have to bounce past that ball in. They're going to have to do some different stuff. You know, I was talking to an assistant coach about this, and they were like, you know, a lot of these kids have never played with a big where they try to feed the ball into them. That they play with stretch 4s and 5s who take the ball up, you know, somewhere outside and then drive in. And it's like teaching them a whole new set of skills. I never thought about it that way because, you know, when I'm a kid, I'm an old guy. I mean, I'm 47. When I was a kid, absolutely, you would kind of lob the ball in to the post. But they don't play like that. These kids don't play like that. They never did. And it's like you're teaching them a whole new thing. And they're slowly catching up to how to do it. They're still struggling with it a little bit. They've got to get better on that. That's weird to me. Because Austin, you guys know, man, minute for minute, he's one of the most effective scorers in the country. He's so good. But you've got to get him the ball. And now that his free throw shooting's taken a big step forward, because remember, he was a mess at the free throw line as recently as early this season. But man, these last, 10 games or so, he's been hot as hell. He's kind of reworked his shot. He's hitting buckets. Man, if that kid is going to hit 80% at the line or even 70% at the line, I mean, he's going to be all SEC and borderline All-American. I mean, he can do that. I really believe that. He's an underutilized strength of this team. At this point, it's almost like he's a garbage player. He's like the superstar Horace Spencer where they don't even run stuff for him, but he rises up, gets rebounds, tip dunks, all that stuff. How about that? All right, let's see what else we got going on in the chat here. I didn't mean to go on a rant there. Paul West says, how about Flanagan? Absolutely, man. You guys know I'm a big fan of Al Flanagan. Before the Vanderbilt game, I think it was the day before or 2 days before, he goes in the gym. So they have practice at like 2:30-ish, something like that. I think they have to report at 1:30, but he's in the gym at like 10 a.m. against an assistant, and they're just working on stuff. He's taking shots. He's back to the basket, rolling off. He's going face up and trying to do moves and stuff. Al Flanagan has that passion to be a better player that you see out of the really, really good ones. And a big part of that was he was coached by his grandfather, who was a legendary coach in Little Rock. And he's the kind of guy, he's an old school guy. He just doesn't take any shit. Like, you're going to work your ass off. You know, he's like John Chaney. I mean, if you remember him from Temple, he's going to work you. And Al Flanagan has that attitude. He wants to get better. He's going to work hard at it. And I think it's awesome that he is as young as he is, and he's trying so hard, putting in that extra effort to get better. He had a pretty good game in the Vanderbilt win, and he had a really good game for him. I mean, coming off the bench the way he did with the amount of minutes he gets, that was a terrific game. BP is going to be through the roof about Al Flanagan, about the way he played today. And I think he's a guy that can really help them. And the weird thing about it is, all these kids at Auburn signs, like, you know, Sharif, who's 5-star badass point guard, and the guys they've got, you know, now. I mean, Isaac was a badass. Mustafa going back a few years. Al Flanagan's one of the lowest profile recruits they've ever had. And I think if his dad wasn't on the staff here, I don't think Auburn would have offered him. I really don't. He ends up being, he's a really good player. He's going to be a really good player before it's over. And I think he's coming into his own now. So we talk all the time about BP and his staff getting all these 5-stars. And they do a great job at that. Don't get me wrong. But they also go out there and get some 3-star, 2-star guys who are badasses too. I mean, New Williams, if you guys remember him, he was never very good at Auburn. He hurt his knee, came in with a knee injury, hurt it again. He's now at Fresno State, and they're not very good, but he's playing his butt off too. I mean, they go out there and they find some diamond in the rough guys too. Everybody can't be a 5-star. You got to have some grinders too. And Al Flanagan's going to be one of the best grinders they've ever had. Let's see what else is going on here in the chat. I know somebody asked earlier, okay, so let's say they can get the ball into Austin. Does that even help him? Well, hell yeah, it does. His hands aren't the best. True. But his hands are not bad. And if you get the ball in this general range, he'll get it and do something. If he can initiate the move, he's got a really good chance, particularly if he's going to shoot 75% from the line. That's how I feel about it. I think somebody in here is still pooping on Blanton's, and I'm pissed off about it. I think it's Triplewood. You better watch out. I'm going to ban you in this chat. Not really. Also, Mr. Duke, thanks again for your support of what we do here on the show. Let's see what else we got going on in the chat. Chris says he's almost automatic to get fouled. Absolutely, dude. They can't. These teams are not prepared to defend guys that big. And Austin's positioning's pretty good. Austin's hands are not very good, but his positioning's good, and his body's good. He's getting there, man. Spread Attack U18 says Wiley stone-handed a few. He does. His hands are not great. Triplewood says, is Auburn going to the Final Four again? The thing about the NCAA tournament is it's all about your matchups, where you are, who you're playing, the kinds of teams you're playing. Auburn had, obviously, a tough road last year, playing UNC, Kansas, Kentucky, but those matchups worked in a way that Auburn was able to manage it. You know, it's weird to think that the New Mexico State game was their toughest game until they got to the Final Four. I mean, and even the Virginia game, and we all know they got hosed in that one, I would still say New Mexico State game is as good a push as Virginia did because New Mexico State was a great matchup. They were good against Auburn. But 15-0, I mean, at this point, and the way this team's going, assuming there's no major injuries to the top 7 or 8 guys, they're definitely going to be a mess in the NCAA tournament. They're going to cause some problems. BP is doing everything he can to tamp down expectations. I understand that. 15-0, it's going to be a mess. I mean, the national media is going to start flocking here, and it's going to be a big, big deal. Let's see what's going on here. The Canoe Man says, didn't New Williams come in with the same class as Doc? It has been a minute, yo. It has been a minute. TD says, to hell with Georgia. Yes, we've talked many times on this show that Georgia fans are the absolute worst. Speaking of that, man, my wife was talking she really got me talking last night. So we're staying in a hotel downtown in Lexington. I'm not there right now because the internet was so bad there. I had to seek internet refuge here at my nephew's pad. But when we were downtown, Kentucky's playing Alabama today, or they just finished. And so last night, there were a lot of Kentucky fans and a few Bammers in our hotel lobby just being Cat fans and Bammer fans. My wife goes, let's go downstairs and talk some shit to some Bammers. And I was like, why? I don't want to do that. And she goes, because there's never a bad time to talk shit to Bammers. It's like, I love that woman. I really do. We didn't end up doing it because I kind of pussed out. I was tired, man. That was a big day for me. It was a big day for me because my daughter went to Transy and interviewed for a scholarship, and I was back on campus, and it just brought up a lot of. I was on edge all day. I don't know. It was weird. Oh, let's see what else we got. UGA Dog 05 says Wiley makes our power forward look bad. Look at that. There's a Georgia fan that is not talking shit. How about that? That's crazy. Triplewood says, do not ban me because there are bourbons that are as good as or better than Bland's for less money. Now, if you're going to frame it that way, I wouldn't disagree with that on face value. I think we could fuss about that a little bit. Although Blanton's is a very good bourbon, it's really hard to find like in a store. I think in a store it's what, 55-ish, 60? Secondary market it's more like 80. I'm not sure it's worth 80. Unless I was just jonesing for it or whatever. Speaking of that, I went to the Willett Distillery on my way up here. The whole Willett empire, and y'all who are bourbon drinkers know Willett. I mean, God, you got Willett. You got the Willett Estate. You got Old Bardstown. They have 3 versions of that. You got Round Creek. There's 40 full-time employees at Willett. That's it. That's the whole thing. The whole operation's 40 people. Bookkeepers, gift shop runners, custodian. Oh, it's 40 people. I couldn't believe it. They have like 6 tanks where they ferment the mash. 6, that was it. In the whole place. I couldn't believe how small it was. It was crazy. Let's see what's going on here. Spread Attack U18 says Samir gets 20 plus if he just knocks down those frees. Visibly upset about the misses. Yeah, Samir, he's kind of in that designated shooter role, the one that Bryce had last year, and Samir's not quite as good as Bryce at shooting. That's one area where I think Auburn's going to need help. Auburn's going to lose some games this year, and they're going to lose them because they don't shoot well enough. I just don't think they have enough what I would call true shooters. I mean, Samir is. I just don't think he's a top-tier guy like Bryce was, the way Jared became. But they're going to get another one. When Powell comes in next year, I mean, that's really his role, and I think Sharif's going to do some damage as far as that goes, too. Did you tell the Transylvania kids you almost got RHCP on campus 50 years ago? What? Come on, man. I'm not that old. Johnny B. Good says, did anyone see Christie's sweater on the broadcast? I did. It said something like, I love the Tigers or something like that. I was watching it, she was being cool like she usually is, and then Gus is just spazzing out like he usually is. This is a good little... Patrick J. says we just rubbed our nuts all over the mutts. Well said, sir. Well said, sir. Auburn Tigers football review, probably not the official account there. It says Auburn's going to be tearing shit up in that NCAA tournament. I think we're going to be a real threat throughout March Madness. They might go to the championship. I'm not ruling anything out. The one thing about this team is, so far, they've risen to every challenge. Even times when I'm like, I don't think they're going to make it today, they still get it done. And BP keeps tamping down those expectations and saying, we're not a good team yet, but they're pretty good. I mean, at some point when you're 15-0 and you're playing a reasonable schedule, which they have, pretty good. One man's purpose. Jenkins M says, my roommates and I found the show after the state game. We are seniors right now. Love the content. Good shit, JG. Appreciate you guys for watching the show, no doubt. Sometimes, we're kind of growing the show a little bit. I think today I'm just going to leave it on just the bunker pretty much. I'm not going to do a lot of Twitter chatter because I can't get the calls the way that I want to. I just want to be here for you guys. I love doing brain drains. And I want to be here for you guys. Uh-oh, look what we got. Fat Crack in the house. Thank you for the super chat, Fat Crack. It says, JGT, you are the best as always. This team will get the best of each team, and it will only make us stronger. It will be even more stout come dance time. Outstanding way to look at it. You are going to get everybody's best shot. That's what's happened at Auburn. When you win the SEC tournament, when you get to the Final Four, when you go undefeated like this, and you're into January, you got a target on your back, and it's something you're going to have to deal with. And the solid teams are going to play like the Lakers against you every single night. it's going to be like this. Georgia is not a good example. They're okay. They're okay, but they didn't play well today, and they got their ass beat by a better team that was playing pretty well. That's what happened today. Let's see what else we got here. If I got any other. Yeah, these are just the Auburn stats, about the same as what we had on the other screen. It's good to see Akingbola get in there, and I wish they would play Turbo a little bit more, but they think of him as a 2. They think he's going to be a 2 in the future, and they don't really need 2 right now. They need a point, and they've got a solution coming in next year with Sharif. It was interesting to see Georgia's attack today, though. Most of the time, what they were doing was 5 guys out and looking for a weakness to try to find a driver and just kind of going one-on-one inside. And Auburn was a little slow to react to that. You know, it seems like early in games, they're slow to kind of build that wall and to stave off the penetration near the free throw line. I'm not exactly sure why they do that. I think maybe they're just not in gear mentally, because I know they have the athleticism to do it. But usually by about that second time out, BP's like berated them to the point where they're actually what he calls it, building the wall, just getting in front of people and stemming the drives. And they did that, and Georgia had a lot of trouble after that happened. And Georgia was in trouble for sure. Also, Patrick D, thank you so much again for your support of the show earlier. Okay, Will G says, at this point, would you be disappointed, JG, if this team did not win the SEC regular season or the SEC tournament? I mean, I don't know, disappointment. I'm kind of a basketball guy. I mean, I grew up that way. My parents were Louisville people, so when I was a kid, I was watching Louisville basketball, Purvis Ellison, et cetera, et cetera. And then I went to Transylvania and Lexington, watched UK, followed UK for a long time. I've been at Auburn 20 years now. I think basketball. I'm a basketball guy. So to me, what really matters is what you do in March, okay? So if whatever record they have in the regular season, I personally don't give a shit about that. I know a lot of y'all do. You want to beat Georgia, you want to beat Alabama. By the way, Alabama game's coming up, and which is going to be the next game. I don't worry about that stuff. I'm just like, is this team getting better? Are they going to be ready for the challenges come March? So you're saying, if the team did not win the SEC regular season, personally for me, my advice would be I don't worry about the regular season as far as the wins and losses. I just watch the team. Are they getting better? Are they addressing the shooting issues? Are they getting the ball to Austin? Do they continue to rebound like some bitches? Are their sideline out of bounds plays getting better? Things like that. I've been seeing a lot of progress, particularly when you're seeing Al Flanagan stepping up. Jamal Johnson's accepting his role and getting better at it. And then Austin, his free throw shooting is amazing. If he becomes this guy at the free throw line, I'm telling you, he's going to be a real problem. So I see a lot of things going in the right direction. Javon's been more under control with the ball since the St. Louis game. I'm seeing the progress. I don't personally care about wins and losses at that point. So in the SEC tournament, to me, it's still the same thing. You're still just kind of seeing how they're playing, how are they handling everybody coming after them in a do-or-die situation, just to see how they get in the NCAA tournament. For me right now, this team, you would expect this team to get the Sweet 16 in the NCAAs, and then at that point, you just kind of have to see what the matchup is and who they're playing. You know, sometimes you get a weird team. Let's say it'll be like San Diego State. I think watching San Diego State as I do, because I like San Diego State, I think Auburn could beat them. They're undefeated. That's the kind of team that you could get matched up with in the Sweet 16, and it would be like, you know, at that point, San Diego State might be 28-1 or something, and you'd be like, they're number 5. I think Auburn would kill them, myself, because of the way Auburn can defend at 4 and 5, and they would be able to move with them. And I think the DHOs that San Diego State runs all the time, Auburn could defend that. So that'd be a great matchup. Another team that has some, let's say, 2 or 3 really big dudes. I mean, if you've got Isaac having to defend like a 6'8" oaf, and he's just going to back him down, I mean, that's a matchup you don't want. So it depends at that point. But I would de-accentuate where they finish in the SEC regular season myself. That would be my suggestion to you. Auburn alumni says, I was amazed at how the fans stepped up, considering the time change, the bad weather. And that arena was packed and loud. I can tell you this, just watching it on TV from Kentucky, looked like a normal game to me, like a normal, good, like these days, Auburn Arena crowd where people are into it and screaming and going crazy. It looked great to me. I'm not surprised because of the support that Auburn people have shown BP these last, I would say, couple years. I mean, the first couple years, I was like, guys, really? But the team wasn't that great. they're really good now. They've been really good for a little while now, and the support's been. I think it's been great. I mean, it's what he wanted. It's what they've got. I don't know if you guys saw that on the Twitter, but he was out there giving out biscuits to the kids in line at like 9 a.m. today. And I tweeted something about that and said, this is not a guy who needs exposure. This is a guy who could very easily, and most coaches in his situation would have done it, sat on their ass and just worried about their team. You know what I mean? And just kind of taken up the eminence front that everybody would have been giving him. Not BP. He's out there doing the same stuff he does when he's 10 and 20 as when he's 15 and 0. Doc Thumpster texted me, and he would like to get on the show. He'd like Hootie on the show too, but I don't think I can take calls. I don't think I can take calls where you guys can hear them, which really, really stinks. I'm pissed about it. All right, let's see what else we got here. Chris S. says 9 guys scored for us today. That's huge, man. Let me go back to the final box here. Not that I think you're lying or anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wow, that's crazy. That's great, man. They go 9 deep and all 9 guys score. That's pretty incredible. See, Auburn alumni says it's truly amazing what Bruce has built here, both on the court and with the fans. BP's as good as it gets when it comes to fans. I mean, there's nobody better anywhere in any sport, I don't think. And as far as coaching, I mean, proof's in the pudding. As far as that guys go. Patrick J says, honestly, this team is great defensively, and it's hard to watch at times. Yeah, I mean, scoring in gets a little frazzled. Sometimes I just think that they're not thinking about what they're doing. They're just kind of going on instinct. And if Javon's feeling like, hey, today's my day, I've got it today, he goes with it. And he's slow to realize that maybe it's not his day. D'Angelo does some of that. Samir's been pretty consistent. And Isaac's been getting better. Although Isaac was a little quiet today. He helped in some unusual ways. He had 3 steals. He had 3 assists. I think he had, what did it say, 9-ish points, 7. Coro had 7 on 3 of 8. 3 assists, 3 steals. So helping in some unusual ways, but he's plus 23, which is a great number. So, I mean, he's helping. He just wasn't a big scorer today. Let's see. Colby M says, are we officially a basketball school? I don't think so. But BP's a badass. I mean, I think you can be both. I really do. I think football's receded a little bit, and I think basketball's definitely pushed forward a lot. So it's getting close to 50-50, honestly. And there's a lot of rabid Auburn basketball fans now, which is awesome to see. AU fan Nick DeSanders says, thoughts on Jamal Johnson? I'm surprised he is this guy. When he was at Memphis, he was not really a very good shooter. And it's almost like they need him to be a shooter. They need somebody to come off that bench and be a long-range option. And it's like they said, hey, Jamal, why don't you be that guy? And he was like, fuck it, I'll do it. And I don't think he's a great shooter, but he's been shooting great. I don't know what else to say. He goes 2 of 3 from 3-point range today. Gives him 6 points off the bench. And I mean, I think he's capable of more, but BP will take 2 of 3 for 6 points off the bench all day, every day. His defense is so-so, but if he's going to come off the bench and give you a couple threes every game, shit, he'll be happy with that. I do think he's got more in him. I mean, I think he can be more than that. What about Johnson and Flanagan behind Okoro? I mean, Okoro's obviously a freak. And I think he's one of those guys who he's such an incredibly talented player. And you're currently watching him taking his incredible talent and kind of turning that into tools, the things that he can actually do on the court to bust ass. Because we know, I remember from the Davidson game, which is back in November. Hell, it was November, I guess. He was the fastest guy on the court that day. And he's almost always the quickest guy on the court. But now he's learning it's more than just being the quickest guy on the court. It's about being the best scorer on the court. And you're starting to see him learn how to use his quickness to create useful space to get a bucket. You didn't see it as much today. I think he was more focused on defense today. But in the Vanderbilt game, and in the SEC season opener, he is putting it together. It's the way Chuma kind of came alive there midway through his sophomore season. And we knew all through his freshman year that Chuma was a total badass, that he had every single athletic ability. He needed to be a dominant player. It was just a matter of him understanding that and then him applying his incredible athletic talent into becoming a skilled basketball player. And it happened over the course of like 10 games last season. And I think we're in the midst of watching Isaac do it. Doc Dumpster says no calls today. That's right. I know this stinks. He did want to let you guys know his thoughts on the game. He was not sold on the guys until today. He was very cautious. He loved the team last year. I like that we are not totally dependent on the three ball this year. That's true. I like the multiple weapons on offense and the support from the bench. Just need to get over the slow starts. Yeah, mentally, man, they just seem like they're not in gear a lot of times to open games, but they catch up pretty quickly. So good stuff there from Doc. I miss having him on the horn. Oh, what? We got a super chat coming in from Sparrow Empire. Thank you very much for your support, sir. JG, do you see Turbo, Stretch, or Jalen playing quality minutes come conference tourney time? I feel like we are going to need one or more of them. No, I don't, actually. I think at this point, they're a 9-man rotation for real. It's great that they have that many options. With the 13th being that guy from JUCO. I can't remember his name. Number 4. No, Turbo. I think Turbo's only used in an emergency situation where Javon and Samir get into foul trouble in the first half. BP would do things with his roster to try to avoid that ever happening. But if it were to happen, I think we would see Turbo a little bit. But I don't think that's they don't want to play him a lot this year. Stretch. No, I think they would rather see him more next year. Although, I mean, he can help them a little bit as a rim protector, but I think you're giving up a lot on that end. And we're at a point now where Austin can play 20 minutes and not foul out. So, no, they're not going to see a lot of stretch. Jalen, I think Jalen's going to be the best player of those three. Left-handed guy, stretch 4, probably going to be a better three-point shooter than Ant beginning next season. It may be as good as Ant now, but he's not as good as Ant in other ways. As far as three-point shooting, I think he's a better three-point shooter than Ant right now, but I think he's a big step down in some other ways. I think they'd rather hold on to Jalen for next year, but those guys are there if needed. We got another super chat coming in from Joker, my man. Joker's always here for us. Thank you, Joker. I appreciate you, bro. He says, you my mother ducking homie JGT. Damn. Oh, Patrick, come on, man. Now you're just piling on. Patrick Duke jumps in again. This is JG translating Doc Dumpster. My goodness, dude. You're like in the Super Chat Hall of Fame now, Mr. Duke. Thank you very much for your support. Auburn alumni says, if Okoro is a lottery pick, he gone. Yeah, I think at this point, anybody that's a lottery pick's got to go and get that guaranteed money. I mean, it's generational money. I mean, it really is. And I honestly believe Okoro really wants to play with Sharif next year. Those guys, they've been friends for a long, long time. They've talked about playing together. Sharif's coming next year. I think if there's any way, any reasonable way that those two can play together, that Isaac can stay, I think he will seriously consider that. But if he's a lottery pick, I personally don't think he's a lottery pick yet, but I'm not an NBA scout. I mean, I think we're watching him really put it all together, and I think 20 games from now, he may be a lottery pick. I don't know. He just takes – kids that age, they take such quick jumps, man. And I'm relying on my psychology background a little bit on that, where people grow and learn and improve. It's not the same scale for every person. And some people just blow up one day, and then some people it just takes 2% every year. You need to think about Bryce Brown. I mean, Bryce Brown, that brash, swashbuckling attitude that you loved about Bryce Brown, he had that the day he signed with Auburn. I remember going up to like an organized pickup game that they had in Birmingham where like some Auburn guys were playing against some UAB guys and some Birmingham Southern guys and some Alabama guys. You know, like organized pickup ball basically. And Bryce was the same guy that day he was in the Final Four. It's just that he learned when to take shots, when to hold shots, how to defend. It was just the other things. Bryce always had that killer attitude. Isaac's got it too. It's just a matter of when are the skills going to come around? When is he going to be a great player? StewPup74 comes in with a super chat. Says, Patrick Duke making my super chat look weak. No, there's no such thing as a weak super chat, Stu. I appreciate your support. You're always here for us, and thank you so much. I'm sorry I can't take calls today. It's just kind of a weird way it popped up like this. I don't anticipate this being a problem again. Although if my daughter does get a call back for the super duper scholarship, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. That's like February. It's in February sometime. We'll have to see. I'm really proud of her though, because I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret. I wasn't the greatest student in high school. I felt lucky to just go to Transy. And here's my daughter like competing for a full scholarship there, which would be awesome. Getting back here, there's some stuff that I missed. I think Johnny B. Good was helping me out a little bit with some Christie stuff. Alpha Tiger 08 says, Tate, did you have to put pants on today since you took the show on the road? I'm wearing shorts. I am wearing shorts. Earlier today, it was 72 degrees outside, which is really weird for up here. I mean, in Alabama, that's not surprising, but I mean, I just didn't see any reason to wear pants. I'm the kind of guy, I don't wear pants unless I have to. Patrick J says, we can't lose. Oh, my God. Another one. Spread Attack U18. Unbelievable, man. Says we got to give back to the man who puts on the greatest show. Thank you, Mr. JGT. We love you at my house after these B-ball dubs. Lots of dubs, huh? 15, in fact. Thank you, Spread Attack U18. You do not have to do that. I know you had a big super chat in the last show, too. And I always remember you for that. So thank you very much for your support. AU fan Nix DeSanders says your daughter deserves the Patch Duke scholarship. I don't know what that means, but she deserves it. Maybe, if it's a good thing. Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. The Canoe Man says, tell Dumpster to get in the chat. You know, something tells me the doc might struggle to get in the YouTube chat. I'm not sure he's the greatest, technology guy. I think getting on the bunker's hard enough for him. Auburn alumni pointed out Javon Franklin was the guy I couldn't remember earlier. Javon is actually the 13th guy. He had a leg injury in JUCO, and I think it's been a kind of a slow process getting him back to full speed. He has appeared in a game this year. He is practicing at full speed. I think it's just a matter of they're just working on him a little bit, just kind of getting some of the rough edges sanded off, getting him out of some bad habits, and sort of what they were doing with Samir during his transfer season. And I think Javon will be fine moving forward, next year and beyond. Johnny B. Good says, can I change my handle to Christie's Sweater Pups? I don't know if that's a reference to like those crystal pups that you can get. I don't even really know. I don't know. I don't know if she had maybe some puppies on her sweater today. I didn't look at it carefully enough, I guess. Chris S. says, have they switched to Samir at point guard? Javon didn't handle the ball a whole lot today. No, they didn't. The way that it works is Javon is your point guard. Samir's your backup. I think there are certain situations. I don't think Javon, he doesn't like to get physical very much. He gets bothered a little bit more than Samir does. Javon at his truly inside, he's a driver. He's a downhill driver. I mean, he shot the ball incredibly well statistically last year. I think he was a 42% shooter from long range last year. I think he's down to like 32 this year. I think it's more in line with what he is. He's a pretty good shooter, but he's best when he's downhill driving, and I think he's a better combo guard, honestly, than a point guard, but they need him to be a point guard, and so they'll switch depending on the opponent and the way the opponent is playing him. If you remember that first game at Mississippi State, Javon played like dog shit the first 5 minutes. They were pressuring him so bad up high, and he was just out of his mind. They put Samir in, took Javon off the floor, kind of coached him up a little bit, did some things to kind of relieve some pressure with the side ball screens. And once they got it changed a little bit, Auburn got ahead. Mississippi State had to tighten in a little bit. Javon was fine. He's fine. He's a good player. There's just times when Samir makes more sense, at least in a short term, kind of coach up Javon and get some things straightened out on that end. But no, I don't think that Samir's like starting over Javon. Those two guys, they're going to both be starters. The Canoe Man notes, and he must be our resident mathematician, that that's now $110 in one drain from Patrick D. Yes, it is indeed, because Patrick D's a badass, and I thank him very much for his support. And that's a trailblazing move right there, if you want to know my opinion. Also, Spread Attack U18, Stu Pup, Joker, Hornatius. Thank you all very much for your support of what we're doing here, yo. See what else we got going on up in here. Triplewood said, "Are you scared of the Four Roses? Where's the tie?" Oh man, what am I scared? Scared? I ain't scared. I was really happy to find this. So for those of you who weren't there when we started, Four Roses Small Batch Select. I'm in Kentucky. They had this on the shelf. I'm such an Alabama goob. Like I go to my ABC and I look on the shelves and I kind of know what's usually there and what's not usually there. And then I go to the one here in Kentucky and I know this is not usually there. So I immediately gravitated toward it. And yeah, it's delicious. 104 proof. The burn lingers longer than it does for most other bourbons that I drink, but it's a satisfying burn. You can see I'm not drinking a lot of water with it. Yeah, it's a damn good bourbon. It's definitely more on the wheat side versus rye. Rye's usually a little spicier. This does not strike me as particularly spicy at all. The way you would see from a Willet or maybe even, God, I had some Johnny Drum. I don't know if you guys have had that before. I had that at the Willet Distillery because it's a Willet product, and it's like their rye. All of their stuff is rye, but that's the ryest of the rye, and holy shit, it was just like way too much for me. It was way too spicy. We got a new super chat coming in from a man, Nick S. Nick S, my guy in Montgomery. Appreciate your support, bro. I haven't seen you here in a few weeks, but hopefully I'll catch up with you here before too long up at our favorite watering hole. Although I know you've got a few of those. Yeah. Appreciate your support, bro. Triple Wood also jumping in with a super chat. Says, how can I gift someone an Auburn Sports subscription? I've got a kid in school that you need to meet and he needs access. So on the front page of auburnsports.com, not the bunker, but on the front page of the whole site, if you go there, it'll say gift a subscription. That's something that publishers like myself, Roddy Nabolsi over at UGA Sports, Gabe, Neil over at Ole Miss, who else was leading the charge on that? Sean Callahan at Nebraska. We formed like this, Chris over at Clemson. We formed a coalition and we were like, we've got to have a way to gift subscriptions. And finally, after like 2 years, our folks at Rivals put it together. So now it should be pretty straightforward on the front of auburnsports.com. Click on gift a subscription. It's up in the top banner next to where it says auburnsports.com. And it should be pretty straightforward. If it's not, send me a DM. I'll get you straightened out. Word on that. Let's see what else is going on here. Call Me Biscuit says, can you make fun of BMAT for getting busted watching soccer from AU Arena? Listen, man, BMAT, there are times when we're about to tape a podcast and he's like, hey, man, do you really need me? Because Liverpool's playing in like the Ballsack Cup or whatever. And I'm like, oh, God, no. Oh, my gosh. What are we doing, guys? D Adams 194. A $99, $100 super chat? You guys are unbelievable. Thank you very much for your support. You didn't even have a message I could read. My goodness. Thank you. I'm humbled beyond. I can't even believe. Thank you so much for your support. I feel like I'm doing a bad show because I can't take the calls like I usually do. But thank you guys. I don't know what to say. That's crazy. Auburn alumni says Auburn won 23 games total in the 2 seasons before Pearl. We've now won 27 of our last 28 games. Greatest program turnaround in college basketball history? It's in the running. I mean, I don't know the full history of all college basketball teams, but you'd have to think that's... But a lot of us knew this was coming, right? I mean, you guys could see the recruiting picking up. You could see the coaching picking up. You could see the optimism picking up. And BP, and I know there's a lot of people out there in the old school basketball world who don't like Bruce Pearl, and I think he represents everything that's bad about basketball or just the recruiting basketball complex. I think that's bullshit. I've spent a lot of time with BP, and he seems like a guy who's over his problems from before, you know? And you think about it, seriously, a lot of people, and I probably felt this way before I met BP. the stuff that he did at Iowa and he got caught doing is bad, but it was 1988. I mean, if I was being held accountable for shit I did in 1988, if I was being held accountable for shit I did in like 98, I'd be in trouble. A lot of people just want to believe that he's the bad guy from 35 years ago or whatever. 40 years ago. I don't know. Got a new super chat coming in. Another one from Sparrow Empire. Thank you very much for your support, Sparrow. And also to D Adams, 194. That was unbelievable. You guys have just been insane today. And Patrick D, Spread Attack U18. My God, Nick S. Unbelievable. It says, can you give us an update on either Jalen Green and Greg Brown? I cannot right now. That's something that Jeffrey Lee keeps an eye on for me. Our ace recruiting czar. And he's a beast at that. I've just kind of been up here in Kentucky doing my thing, and I haven't been paying attention to that in the last week. So, yeah, I don't have an update for that. I'm sorry. But thank you for the super chat, dude. Hootie G says, what are you sipping on, Jay? I am sipping on the Four Roses Small Batch Select that I picked up here at the Liquor Barn in Lexington. They have several liquor barns. When I asked the guy about the Buffalo Trace, and he laughed at me and mocked me, because he was like, we don't ever get that shit. He did take me to his like special case where they have all of the high value bourbons. And I saw some stuff there that I had never actually seen with my own eyes. I saw Kentucky Owl, the Kentucky Owl 10-year. I've never actually seen it. I've read about it. He had one bottle of the Kentucky Owl annual release, but the retail price on that was $3.15, and I was like, nah, I'm good. I mean, you guys know me, man. I drink Ezra 7-year and Legent and shit like that. Old Forester. Anything over Blanton's, I'm usually no-'d on, and the $300 bourbon is not something I'm going to do. Joker says, shout out to Bruce and Co. for giving my newborn tiger her second win. Word, shout out for show. Thank you, Joker. I appreciate you, bro. I just cannot believe the generosity today, guys. This is insane. Sorry about that. I knocked that off. I got to write this stuff down. You guys have been unbelievable today. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I'm not able to take calls, but it's just part of it. Let's see. We've got somebody in the chat called JGT. It says, all hail Bruce. I hope you guys don't think that's actually me. No, you wouldn't actually. Patrick Duke says, Nate Oates must be exterminated. They didn't beat Kentucky, did they? I mean, he's pretty much oh my God, hold on, guys. I've made a mistake. Looks like the text. Yeah, I don't really know. It may have been Hootie that texted earlier. It said, very cautious, loved the team last year. I like that we're not totally dependent on the three ball. I like the multiple weapons on offense and the support from the bench. That may have been Hootie. I apologize if that was confusing. And if you're watching Hootie or Doc, I'm sorry for that. There's also one thing I wanted to mention from the last show. We had a call in from Huntsville Tigers, one of my favorite posters, who I met at one of the Birmingham lunches. I erroneously referred to him as a armed service veteran. He never said that to me. I just kind of, knowing him, talking to him, he just totally struck me as a military guy. And he very quickly messaged me on the bunker to say, I am not military. I never have been. He's been a contractor working alongside parallel to the military for a long time in the Middle East, but he is not himself military. And he did not want to be known as like a valor stealer. And I was not trying to cause trouble with that. So he has never told me I'm military or anything like that. That was a misinterpretation on my part. I want to make that abundantly clear. Huntsville Tiger, again, is a guy who loves the armed forces. He works alongside of those guys and girls all the time over the Middle East and other places, wherever he's doing his contractor work, but he is not himself military, nor has he ever been. So just a little housekeeping note there that just came to my mind. JGT says, I have some Kentucky Owl. It is very good. I bet it is, man. At that price, you'd think it would be really good. Auburn alumni says Tom Crean was gushing over Auburn in his postgame. It seems like BP and Tom Crean get along all right. Um, there's a lot of folks out there, as I mentioned earlier, that are not big BP fans. John Calipari, included in that group. But it seems like Tom Crean's pretty much okay with BP. And also, there's a lot of people who think Tom Crean's kind of a renegade as well. I don't know. Maybe they kind of see some value in each other. Auburn alumni went on to say that Crean said Auburn was one of the deepest, most incredibly well-coached teams in the country. Any conversation for who could win it all should include Auburn. I mean, at 15-0 and them doing the things that they've been doing, I mean, I think that's fair. But as we mentioned a long time ago, the other day, we still got work to do. I mean, Auburn's still got some stuff that's got to be addressed. And then when you get in the NCAA tournament, the matchups matter so much. Are you playing a team that's hot? Are you playing a team that's cold? Are you playing a team that has shitty guard play and great forwards? Because those teams typically don't go as far in the NCAA tournament as a team that has great guards. Those are the things that play into it more than is Auburn a Final Four team. Yes, Auburn is a Final Four caliber team right now. Absolutely. Are they going to get to the Final Four? It's just more than that. In the NCAA tournament, you just got to see who you have to face and how you match up against those teams and the things you have to do to get around those teams. Sometimes you face a team that's got three big-ass post dudes, and Auburn is not going to be able to defend those guys. They're going to have to attack a different way, and when they do that, they're going to have to rely on shooting, and it gets kind of complicated like that. Auburn has what it takes to get back to where they were. It's just a matter of will they get there? I don't know. We got a long way to go. I mean, they're still only 15-0, and they're going to play at least 30 games this year, you would think. So, I mean, they're not even halfway there. Bob Loblob reminds me of Lob Lolly Farm in Kentucky. Says, how good is Sharif Cooper? He's as good as it gets. High school point guard. Every year there's the best high school point guard. Some of those guys are better than others. I think Sharif is one of the best high school point guards in the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years. And John Wall was better, I thought, as a high school player. There's been a few, but he's a total badass. I mean, they've signed some 5-star guys here lately. So, I mean, it's not like breaking news that they would get a 5-star. I happen to think Sharif is the best of them. I think he's an absolute dominator. Nick says, how did you like the baby JG pic sent the other day? That picture did look a good amount like me. I need to lose some weight to get even with that guy, but it did look like a young JG. I give you that. The problem with young JG was prior to 2004, I weighed 315 pounds. I was just massive. I looked like Jabba the Hutt. Like, hi guys, how you doing? JG from the Advertiser. I'm still fatter than a lot of you guys, but I'm not nearly as fat as I used to be. I'm like down 80 pounds from there. It kind of goes up and down, though, but you know how it is. I'm not huge anymore. So that's good. Let's see. Auburn alumni says Cooper's a one and done. That would be my expectation coming in. AU Civil kind of tailing on some stuff I was talking about earlier. Says if they don't like BP, fuck them. Fair enough. I don't think BP's losing any sleep over it. And he's beating their ass, too, for the most part. So that's fine. Let's see. JGT said matchups didn't matter last year. We took all those blue bloods down in order. True, but if you remember, I mentioned this at the top of the show. That New Mexico State game was a bitch from start to finish. And to me, that was a 50-50 game. I mean, Auburn got out of it, but Auburn could have very, very easily fallen in that game. And think about it, dude. If they lose that game, that is a Final Four team that doesn't get to the Final Four. And New Mexico State had great guards. They had great guards. They had the best guards that Auburn faced until they got to Virginia. And Virginia had some really good guards. And they also got a double dribble call that they just looked over. Captain Eagle Flygood says, any report on the Eagle flight today? And the first response after that says, TD says, Jay Gouge was not happy with the Eagle flight today. I'm sad that some people don't remember there's so much that goes into a game day atmosphere. I mean, was the weather good? Were the concessions cold? Did the Eagle fly good? I thought, my God, he just asked if the Eagle flies good. One of the great moments in Auburn beat writer history for me, anyway. Triplewood says, why does Auburn start cold every game? That's a great question. If they knew the answer to that, they would fix it right now, right away, immediately. It's going to cost them a game sooner or later because they're going to get down 23-7, and it's going to be hard to dig out. That's something they're going to have to try to figure out. I don't have an answer for that. I just don't know enough about what's going on in the locker room Do they start slow at practice? It's really hard for me to tell because in the start of practice, they're just doing drills and stuff. And maybe they're just not locked in. Maybe, and I'm just thinking out loud here, maybe if they started with a scrimmage instead of finishing with a scrimmage. I know that's unorthodox, but maybe that would kind of get them used to being in gear right off rather than kind of easing their way into a practice and then easing their way into a game. I'm just thinking of Gus when he says, you practice like you play, and then, or you play like you practice? Nah, it doesn't matter. I just wonder if that schedule, Gus is so big on schedules. We got to keep him on schedule. I don't know if BP would consider that. D. Adams, what are you doing, man? D. Adams 194 puts up another $100 super chat for the Chapstick Fund. Oh my God. Thank you so much, dude. I'm so glad that you did that. That's awesome. Thank you for your generosity, seriously. I do love Chapstick. I've got it all the time. I got a bunch of these from my friend Linda. Linda P, we'll call her, from Mobile. She hooked me up with a bunch of these infirmary cancer care chapsticks because she and I joke about chapsticks, and we shared chapsticks a few times at football games. And then she brought me a whole bag of those, but I'm running out now. So I promise I will buy some chapsticks in your honor. And I will mention you on the show when I do chapsticks. He's the official chapstick sponsor of the Brain Drain. Thank you, D. Adams. TD says, Patrick Duke, you're up, shot caller. No, he's not. He's way past up. He has been up, and those guys are absolute badasses. Well, I don't know who D. Adams is, but I love that person. Triple Lid says, starting with a scrimmage, great idea. I mean, I know it's not a great idea in theory because you want your kids to be warm and not suffer a hamstring injury or a calf injury, calf pull, a soleus pull. You don't want to do that, but at the same time, I don't know. I just wonder. I mean, I'm thinking about it now. I mean, when they start practice, they start slow. I mean, they stretch, which is fair, and they kind of do these full court, just kind of jogging runs and just kind of just getting ready and slowly starting up and building up to a scrimmage. I just wonder if maybe if they start with something more aggressive, maybe they would start more aggressively in a game. I'm just thinking out loud here. I'm not even going to run that by anybody because they would probably laugh at me. But there are people at Auburn who are in charge of stuff like that. So I got a text there. I mentioned this at the top of the show for those of you who are just kind of tuning in now. Also, I want to give Fat Crack a big shout. Thank you again for your second super chat of the day. Says, Bruce, for our next O-line coach, I hope everyone is safe with the weather. Got rough up here in Madison, Alabama. Thanks again, JGT, for all you do. Thank you, Fat Crack. Here in Lexington, I don't know why I'm looking out the window. It's just raining lightly now. It got really bad right about halftime of the Auburn game, and the cable went out here twice. We lost power once. So it was bad for 30 minutes. It seems like that's kind of what's been going on. I talked to Neil McCready, my friend who runs the Ole Miss side, who was in Oxford. He said it was really bad. This has been early in the afternoon. Bad for about 15 minutes where he was, and then it kind of tailed off. So hopefully that's what happens. I know some bad stuff went down in Pickens County up near Tuscaloosa. Some folks died, unfortunately. So I just hope that you guys are all safe down there in the state. We decided to stay up here in Lexington an extra day. My daughter's interviewing for a scholarship at Transylvania University, which is where I went to school. It's in Lexington. It's a small school, kind of like Huntington. That's in Lexington, and so we decided to stay up here and just not get involved with the storm. Wait it out. Come down tomorrow when it's overcast or sunny on I-65 rather than worrying about tornadoes or whatever. And thank you, Fat Crack. Again, D. Adams, thank you so much. Patrick Duke, you guys are beasts. Absolutely. Joker as well. Thank you. Captain Eagle Flygood, who I think has one of the great names on the bunker. That and everything Gucci. Captain Eagle Flygood says, JGT, which bet would you take? Zach Farrar Bolitnikoff winner 2020? Oh, my God. Or Alan Green leaves to take another job and we experience athletic director Gene Chiswick. Oh my god. I would probably take Gene in that one. I'm not trying to slight Zach. I just don't. I just don't know enough. I don't have enough data on Zach to think that he could become even a team MVP winner, much less a Blitnikoff winner. And it would not blow my mind to see Alan Green leave. It, it wouldn't blow my mind. It wouldn't make my brain melt to think that Chiswick would be AD, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So, but I would still take. I would still take the second one there. At least there's a chance that could happen. I don't know about Zach Farrar. See, Jeremy E says, been hanging out in the basement while the kids sport their bike helmets, dodging death. Hey, man, way to be thinking out. I know you live outside of Birmingham, so I hope you guys are good. Thank Bruce for cell phones and brain drain. We're glad to be here for you, Jeremy E, one of our great all-time posters. Yeah, Jeremy E, my man. Very thoughtful dude, and also a Spurs fan. And if I remember correctly, if I saw in here, did Spurs win today? Let me see. I think they did. Nah, I don't have it up here. I'm sure he can jump in here and let me know. But my soccer team won 4-0 today, but I'm not going to say anything about that. People get upset when I talk about soccer, and this isn't a soccer chat. JGT says, damn, I am making some nice bank this drain. Maybe I should grab that Kentucky Owl today. Thanks to all the super chat. Thanks for all the super chat cash. You are the best. That's not me. You guys know where I am. If I was typing, you'd see me. Jenkins M says, is Bruce Pearl the NCAA Coach of the Year? Hard to argue otherwise. At this point, you could argue Auburn or the San Diego State coach are both balling up big time. Yeah, I've mentioned before, the problem with Bruce is he's kind of got a PR problem where there's a lot of people who are just kind of stubborn, and they remember BP for as the guy, the Iowa assistant who got in trouble in '88 for surreptitiously taping a recruit on the phone to try to get Illinois in trouble. They also remember him as the guy who held an illegal cookout. Seriously, guys, sometimes it's like they act like the guy extorted money from the cancer charity. He did not. He had a cookout at his house, and a recruit went there. I mean, it was bad, and I mean, he lied about it, and that sucked, and he regrets it. But I mean, let's keep it in perspective here. I mean, some of my friends are UK fans, like, I hate Bruce Pearl. And I'm like, okay, I can see some reasons why. Why? And they're like, because he's a cheater. And I was like, okay. Whatever. I mean, for UK people to call him a cheater, honestly, it's pretty funny. There's a lot of people that call him a cheater, and they're from schools where I'm like, yeah, you guys never, ever cheat, ever. Kentucky's never cheated to get a basketball player. Ever! The whole FedEx thing was a setup. It was a government setup, I'm sure. Chip says, what is the Transylvania University mascot? Okay, so it's kind of confusing, although Auburn people should not be hating on Transy for having a confusing mascot. It's a Pioneer. They're called the Transy Pioneers, but their mascot here it just changed. It used to be like an angry, Pioneer-looking dude. Now it's a bat. It's like a murciélago, as we would say in Spanish, like a bat you would find in a cave. And that's because I think it's a play on the Transylvania thing, obviously. And also because there's a lot of macabre history on campus. We have a tomb on campus where there's obviously a dead guy. That's kind of what hangs out in tombs. And there's, just like I said, some macabre history to Transy. It was a medical school back in the 17 and 1800s, early 1800s. And I mean, medical schools in the 1800s maybe weren't as regimented as they are now. And I think there were a lot of experiments going on that were really weird. And I think some weird shit went on at Transy. But anyway, it's a bat. It's a bat mascot, but they're called the Pioneers. Kind of like the whole War Eagle thing, but it's actually a tiger. I get it. I think it's great. Other people want to keep talking shit about it, and I'm fine with that, whatever. You straighten those people out one at a time. Stu Pup, thank you for the shout out, or for the super chat, my man. Says Bruce is the coach of the year, and Illinois deserved it. Oh man, I saw a story maybe a few years ago. It was Deion Thomas was the player at Illinois that he was, if you want to call it that, setting up or whatever. I think they buried the hatchet on that. I feel like they got over it. I think One of the Illinois coaches didn't get over it. But man, seriously, after 30 years, I mean, if you don't get over it, I think that's your problem. I mean, again, he didn't kill somebody. We're not talking about murder. That's the thing. You always have to kind of, when people say, well, Bruce Pearl's a cheater, I got to be like, okay, what did he do? Like, what do you think he did? And the stories are always more outlandish than they really were. It kind of happens like that. I don't really understand where Chip Chip's going with this. I need to see who he's talking about. Let's see. Chip Chip says, Gene would fire Gus yesterday. Oh, damn. I don't know about that. He beat Alabama, you know. Auburn 23 says, typical to see folks complaining about the possible choice of Ryan Pugh as our O-line coach. I think he'd be a great choice, smart and tough. Yes, Ryan Pugh, I like Ryan Pugh. He was a good lineman. He's a smart guy. I think he's a good offensive line coach. Everywhere he's gone, they've performed. He was working under Jeff Grimes for a while, if you guys remember. Not JB, but Jeff, who was a line coach for Chiz back in the day, who has gone on to work some other places, including LSU, and he's been good. He's a terrific offensive line coach, and Ryan kind of worked under him more than Gus. I don't, I mean, Ryan played for Gus, but I just kind of feel like Ryan Pugh would probably consider himself more of a protege of Jeff Grimes more than anybody else. D. Adams again. This is getting preposterous. I mean, I need to ask you to stop, D. Adams. A third $100 super chat. My God, says experimentation fund. Thank you very much for your generosity, D. Adams. That's incredible. The Kentucky Owl is starting to look like it's in my reach. Now, isn't it? No, I wouldn't do that. They had some other stuff. They had some 10-year-old Kentucky Owl, which was more like $150, and it was like the annual release of Kentucky Owl. And I don't even know. Retail was $315. Do I have any bunker experts on here would know, is $315 a fair amount for that? Because I don't know. I mean, it's so far out of my range. Like, I'm thinking like $60 is a lot, for bourbon. I have like the most expensive bourbon I have is Magnus, which I paid $105 for it, and I feel bad about it. But I did it in a blind taste test at a liquor barn. He put up 6 of them, my wife and I, and we had each one of them, and I said that was the best. And then he showed me that it was Magnus, and then we bought a bottle. That's why. That's the only reason I have it. Chip says, Christy Malzahn is D. Adams. Don't out people. I'll ban you for that. Look at this. It says, TD says, today Transylvania announces a new pioneer athletic mascot, Raph, who pays homage to the university's legendary professor, Samuel Constantine Raffinesque, a charismatic naturalist whose tomb is on the campus. That's true. Raffinesque, like the place where you eat, like the juke joint where you get like, fried chicken and burgers and stuff, is called the Raff. It's named after, they call it the Raffskeller, named after Raffinesque. So it's kind of a cool, it was weird. My daughter, I didn't think she'd want to go, because she's been like at Auburn, South, Ole Miss, UAB, and Transy. And all of those are pretty big schools, different versions of big, but, and then Transy's got about 1,000 students, and I thought she would show up and be like, this bullshit. Cause I mean, I'm a graduate, my wife's a graduate, we met at Transy. I just felt like she should try to go. I mean, she's trying to, apply, interview, go through the process and see what she thought about it. And I think as time has gone on, she's liked it more. It's been surprising. Let's see what we got going on here. We got Canoe Man is now tallying up the D. Adams fund today and says it's now at $299.97, which is mind-blowing to say the least. Thank you very much. I mean, I feel uncomfortable kind of because it's so much, but thank you very, very much. Alpha Tiger says, is D. Adams donating Monopoly money? You'd be surprised some of the folks that are on the bunker. I mean, I'm not. We got a lot of folks on the bunker that would surprise you who they were and stuff like that. I'll meet folks. I would never say who they are, but I meet folks sometimes in real life who are leaders in the community. I'm not talking about Montgomery, but wherever they are. And they're like, dude, I love you on the bunker. And I'm like, holy shit, you're a bunker person? For real? Yeah. It's crazy. Fat Crack puts in a third. Thank you, Fat Crack. For the Thunderbird Fund. Thank you, Fat Crack. I appreciate you very much. Thunderbird. I'm gonna drink this Four Roses. This is for D Adams. Appreciate you. It's a delicious bourbon. I'm not gonna lie about it. Small batch select, Four Roses. Hard to find. I think it's impossible to find in Alabama. My man Matty, Matty is a guy. Matty C, we'll call him. He's the guy that I go to for bourbon questions. He's a bourbon expert. He says he's only seen it in Georgia in a couple times. So I thought this was kind of a rare one, and I felt good about buying it. It was retail price. I think it was like $50. It's absolutely delicious. Triplewood notes. Now, Triplewood, I don't know how many times you've been on the show, bro, but you're talking smack here about Old Granddad 114 being 33. I love Old Granddad 114. Stretch Armstrong can attest to that because he bought me a bottle one time back in the day when 114 was hard to find, and I still love him to this day for that. But Old Granddad 114 is a tremendous value at that price, and I think it's tasty. It's a little harsh, but I like harsh. I don't like bourbons that are too super refined. My wife likes that stuff, so for me, that's like Basil Hayden. I think it's too refined. Like there's not enough punch to it. My wife loves that shit. And she also got a big bottle of this stuff called like Bluegrass Bourbon Company blah, blah, blah. I literally thought it was the worst bourbon I've ever tasted. And it was in that blind taste test I was talking about earlier when I got the Magnus. She chose a different one as her favorite, and she bought that one, and it was this Bluegrass Bourbon. Seriously, it was rubbing alcohol is what it was. The ethanol smell and the taste was just like off-putting as hell. But it had no burn, really. It just tasted like rubbing alcohol. And she was like, I love it. It's so smooth. And I was like, it tastes like dog shit. But whatever. She drank it. Everybody's happy. No problem. Stu Pup 74 jumps in again. Stu Pup jumps in and says, for the Mad Dog 2020 fund. You guys are killing me, guys. All right, my bad. For real. I've gotten off the basketball stuff. I feel like we talked about the basketball game. I mean, bottom line is, Auburn got great production off the bench. Auburn had a great run from about 6.5 minutes before halftime. Just killed Georgia. Georgia didn't have a bucket that whole time. Auburn got a nice lead going into halftime and then came out of halftime and really locked them down defensively for like the next 5 minutes. And so together you've got an 11.5-minute spur there where Georgia's really not pissing a drop. Auburn's going about their business. They build a 20-point lead, and that's that. You're still thinking you never know what happens. But then Auburn had a run there around the 8-minute mark of the second half where they had dunks on 4 or 5 possessions, including an absolutely thunderous dunk from D'Angelo Purifoy down the lane. I mean, it's like, somebody please step in there and at least try to take a charge. I mean, don't just get out of the way. I mean, I'm fine with that, but show some sack. I don't know. And at that point, I mean, the game was over. I don't know. Auburn was just better than Georgia today by a long shot. It was the largest margin of victory for Auburn over Georgia at home since the 70s. It's crazy. I know I remember a bunch of close Georgia-Auburn games in Beard Eves and now Auburn Arena. But that one today, it got out of hand really fast going toward halftime, and then coming out of halftime, it was just blown away. Auburn was awesome off the bench today. We mentioned Jamal had 6 points on 2 or 3 shooting from 3. Anthony had a really good second half. And then Al Flanagan had a really good first half. So, you know, BP's been talking about got to have more production off the bench. He got it today, and you see what happened. Defensively strong today for sure. Scoring-wise, I mean, you got to give them credit. They shot the ball well. Auburn finishes 53% from the floor. You'll never kvetch over that. 9 of 24 from 3. You'll never kvetch over that. 7 of 15 from the line. Not so good. That's really the only thing that sticks out today. 3 of 7 in particular from Samir is usually a very good three-point shooter. And also goes 2 of 4, a little bit off his usual run. I mean, we talked about him. If he becomes the 75% shooter he was prior to this game, he's going to be an absolute beast, just unstoppable. But, yeah, free throw shooting is really the only area of the game today where I thought Auburn was substandard. Everything else was either good or very good. Really, really bringing it. Stoop up getting some love for the Mad Dog 2020 reference. Jeff Petty says, my favorite bourbon is E.H. Taylor Small Batch. Sent the fiance to the store now for a bottle. It's $44.95 here in Florida. Wow, you could get a lot more than that everywhere else. I know you know that. I had E.H. Taylor last Christmas or last Christmas time. No, I take that back. It was last summer. I was in Crestwood, Kentucky, at my brother-in-law's house, and one of my friends from college lives up the road, literally half a mile. So I went to see him at 1 in the morning because I was lit and I was just tore up, and I know this is kind of a recurring story with me, but so I went over to his house and he had E.H. Taylor. He's like, "Do you want some?" And I was like, "I really can't taste it, I don't think, because I'm really tore up." And he's like, "I'd love for you to have some anyway." And as best I can remember, it was delicious. If you guys have ever seen me drink from that, they give you those little copper cups that you would drink a Moscow Mule from. A lot of times I drink that during the brain drain. That cup I got from a man. It's Jason Morgan who lives up there. So shout out to Jason, who is definitely not watching this show. He's probably fired up about UK today. Big UK fan. Transy graduate, but a UK fan. A lot of folks like that. Chip, remember earlier I was saying I feel bad about the so many incredibly generous donations today from D. Adams and Patrick Duke and others. Thank you very much for that. It says, don't sweat it. Gus made $43,000 last month. Yeah. Hootie says, Hoot love Mad Dog 2020. What up, Hootie? How you been? I'm sorry if I gave Doc credit for your comment earlier. In your phone, you guys look suspiciously similar. I'll just leave it at that. But maybe that's just my phone. I don't know. Canoe Man says, hey, Chip, Gus made far more than that last month. Yeah, that's just his Auburn salary. He gets a lot from Tigers Unlimited. That's just how it works. Spread Attack U18 says, I'm not surprised everyone giving up the love today. What's it all about? I roll my change once a week to donate. You have done more than roll the change. Unless you're working at an arcade, bro. Because, you've been incredibly generous as well. You're right up there. Jenkins M says, Anthony off the bench brings whatever the starting five is lacking. We don't look complete until he sees minutes. That's my assumption on the Rocky start. What's yours, JG? They love Anthony off the bench. He's been playing Anthony off the bench ever since he got injured. And Anthony is such an unusual player for his size. I mean, he's not a traditional four at all. He's really a pick and pop, or what we call we've been talking about on the board, a pick and roll roller move, where he sets a screen, ball comes around it, he backs out to the line, they kick it out to him, and he hits a three. That's like their move for Anthony. He has such a quick release. It's almost like a flip. It's not really a full shot. But he's gotten good at it, and that's what he brings. I think he's good in the role he's got right now. And Sonny was talking about on the show today that John Havlicek, for a lot of his career, was not a starter. He was actually a sixth man. Lou Williams in the NBA these days has been a sixth man for so long now, you don't even think about it. And yet he's a guy that averages 12 to 15 points a game, and he's so critical to his team's effort. He's a great player. Some guys are just better in that role. I don't know. But yeah, Anthony's he's a critical player to this team. And to me, I know he's not a starter in name, but he's a starter in presence. And I'm not just being full of shit, because coaches will say stuff like that, like we have 9 starters, guys. But I mean, really, Anthony plays 25 minutes a game. I mean, he's a frontline player of this team. Auburn Man 83 says they are bad at the free throw line this year. Really, it's just 2 guys that have been really bad this year. Javon's been bad, way below what you would expect, and then Al Flanagan's been terrible. But other than those 2, the problem is that Javon has the ball in his hands a lot, so he's going to get fouled a lot. And yeah, he needs to step it up a little bit. 3 of 7. I'm sorry, 2 of 3 from the line today for Javon, so that's good. God, I've left this up here forever. I'm sorry, guys. We'll let it rotate there through the pictures and whatnot. So big games coming up there. You can see the schedule. Alabama, the next game coming up midweek. That's going to be a big one. Alabama, to me, has been playing better. They played Kentucky real competitively today, and they beat the shit out of Mississippi State the other day at home. So that's a team that in the pre-conference season, I was kind of not sure about them. But they've been playing a lot better lately. So that's going to be a tough game. If you guys have been following Auburn basketball for a while, Auburn tends to have trouble in Tuscaloosa. Maybe not as much last year, but typically they do. So that's going to be a game we need to keep a close eye on. As far as a brain drain after that one, I mean, shit, 8 o'clock tip. It means we wouldn't get on the air until a good 10:30 Central Time, 11:30 Eastern Time. Normally that would be a game that I would say, nah, we're not going to do that, but we'll see what happens on the bunker. I'll be sure and hit you guys up and see what you think about that. Let's see. JGT says best bourbon for the money, hands down, is Heaven's Door. $50 a bottle, and Pappy itself isn't worthy no matter the age. Interesting. I've seen the Heaven's Door. I believe that's the one that's backed, or somehow Bob Dylan's involved with that. I don't know if that's a marketing ploy or what. I've seen it before. I don't know if it's really good, but I would be interested in drinking that. I think D. Adams has made some of my bourbon dreams a reality today, honestly. He and Patrick Duke. Thank you very much, you guys. Also to Stoop Up. Who else we got? Nick S. Joker. Appreciate you guys. I know Hornatius started things off for us today. Fat Crack has been there for us too. 3 times. Thank you very much for that. $50. TD says Ken Palm has us at 14 now. This is very interesting to me. I know Ken Palm, that is not like a vote. That is a computer-generated thing. And I'm going to take a look at that right now. I don't know if I can do that for you guys. Let me see if I can pull that up so you guys can see the Ken Palm numbers. I would love to be able to show you that. Okay, yeah, so they've got Auburn. I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and set this up so you guys can see it. Sorry for this scintillating video stuff, but I want to show you guys this. I use a application called OBS so I can produce this show, and I have to kind of go through OBS to show you guys things to put it up so you can see it. It was very confusing for me in the beginning. There's not really an instruction manual for shit like that, but my friend Kyle from the Alabama site, I'll size this down, sorry guys, showed me a lot about it, and I've learned a lot here. So this is the current Ken Palm standings. And you can see Auburn there at 15-0. I am a confirmed Auburn fan on the Ken Palm site. That's why it's colored in like that. But you guys probably aren't surprised by that. So let's look down at the numbers here. Let's see. Auburn is 14th in adjusted offense. Let me pull this up so I can see it better. My eyes aren't great. 14th in adjusted offense. 28th in adjusted defense. 108 in tempo, although tempo doesn't really matter for rankings. Luck. They're ranked pretty high in luck. I don't really know what that means. I don't know how you determine that. It looks like strength of schedule might be a problem for them, which is listed at 140, which looks to be a little lower than some of them. But then you look at like Gonzaga's 250, Louisville, who I hate, is 229, Baylor is 211. Now let's take a look at Baylor. What are they doing? I know Davion Mitchell's the point guard there. If you guys are you old school Auburn fans know that Davion used to be at Auburn and is now the starting point guard at Baylor. I can't get that to come up, so I'm just going to abort that. Forget it. Not even worried about it anymore. So, yeah, some teams there that I'm not sure that Auburn's worse than, honestly. I feel like Auburn have a good shot at a lot of these teams. I mean, Duke's a pain in the ass. Kansas, I'm cool with Kansas being up there. Michigan State, pretty good. I like them. I sometimes wonder about Joshua Langford. If you guys remember him from the greater Huntsville area, Auburn really wanted him. He was going to be in that class with Mustafa, I believe. He was going to be like one of these trailblazers for BP, and he ended up going to Michigan State over Auburn. It was down to those two. And unfortunately, he's out for the year with an injury. And I think he had a big injury maybe a year ago or 2 years ago that kept him out. I wonder if he would have been better off at Auburn. Not to say that the injury wouldn't have happened at Auburn. It probably would have, but I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if he would have been better off at Auburn rather than Michigan State, but whatever. Baylor, I got to believe Auburn's better than Baylor. I don't know anything about Butler. I mean, you know Butler's, those of you who are in the basketball world know that Butler's one of those teams that's kind of always right in there. They have a great basketball heritage. Ohio State, I've watched them play 11-5. I don't know, man. Auburn's strength of schedule is what the problem is there. I don't know. It's kind of strange how it works. Again, I mentioned this at the top of the show. I'm not real worried about. This is just me talking. You guys can have a different opinion if you want to. I don't really care about the regular season. I mean, if Auburn finishes whatever 16-2 or they finish 14-4, it doesn't really matter to me because it just doesn't matter. Like, you're either going to get in the NCAA tournament and kick ass and get to the Final Four, or you're not. It's binary to me. You just want to see if your team's improving, if it's getting better, if it's working on its weaknesses. I think Auburn is. I think Auburn's heading in the right direction. I mean, obviously they're 15-0, no shit, but it's more than that. It's more about, are you learning as a team how to put people away? Are you learning how to get over your weaknesses? And I think Auburn is. I think they're, not only are they good, but they're being coached well and they're getting better. Jeremy East says, Anthony is our Manu Ginobili. Awkward, sixth man, nothing that works like it should, but until the ball goes through the basket. I think that's fair, although they're different kinds of players, but their role is similar. I think that's a good point. Canoe Man says, we had 6 starters at running back in 2019. Oh, yeah. Always got to find a way to get a dig in there at Gustav, right? Chip says, Bama reminds me a little of Auburn 2018-19 in the way they can roll you if their three-pointers are falling, and they might get run if they were cold. Yeah. Shooting, they have some issues with shooting, too. It's up and down a lot with them. And then their coach is just getting started now. I always wonder a little bit, Alan Green, Auburn's athletic director, I mean, Nate Oates worked for him at Buffalo. I always kind of wonder if that's kind of a weird deal there. I've talked to Alan about it before, but if you guys know Alan or if you've met him, he can be kind of tough. He's a tough nut to crack. We'll say about that. Charles W. comes in late after an hour and a half and says War Eagle. Hell yeah, we'll always take that, Charles. Well, what do you guys think? About an hour and a half after basketball games as far as we go, typically. It's been a hell of a show. I'm just absolutely flabbergasted by the support we've gotten both through folks. I didn't even post this on Twitter because I couldn't take calls. I didn't feel like it was going to be up to standard. And instead, we got D. Adams, Patrick Duke, Fat Crack, Joker, Hornatius, y'all jumping up and doing things. Nick S. as well. It's been incredible, man. Oh, my God, we just got another one. Fat Crack again. That's like 14, bro. Oh, that's like 4. Thank you very much for your support, Fat Crack. I love you. This is JGT. Have you ever had Basil Hayden's? Yes, that was one of the first ones I had when we hit the bourbon thing maybe 5 years ago. I personally don't like Basil Hayden's. I think that it lacks body, and I think it's a great mixer, and it's too expensive to be a mixer, so I generally stay away from Basil Hayden. I did see on one of my bourbon sites that there is like a Caribbean version, it's a Basil Hayden's Caribbean version, and they put them in rum casks to finish it. I would be interested in trying that, but other than that, Basil Hayden's doesn't really do a lot for me. I know a lot of folks are like, dude, I've got some Basil Hayden's rye, and I'm like, I don't like it anyway. I don't see the genius there. But look, man, some of us can look at a girl and be like, that girl's really hot, and the guy looks at her and goes, that girl's a dog. It's all about just drinking what you like. I happen to like stuff that's more weeded. Some of you guys might like stuff that's more rye. It's all good. Johnny B. Good notes that Flanagan was our Ken Palm MVP versus UGA. Very interesting. Let me see if that's true. I mean, not that you're lying or anything. I would just like to see that myself. I didn't update since the Georgia game. There we go. You're absolutely right. Alan Flanagan, 20 minutes, 12 points, 6 defensive rebounds, so 6 rebounds total, 2 steals, and 2 fouls. Offensive rating of 160. Good God. Which basically means he's a very efficient scorer, which he was today. 3 of 3 from the floor. So he was 1 of 1 from 2, 2 of 3 from 3, and then got 6 rebounds in 20 minutes. I mean, that's a great shift off the bench. I'm not sure he's the MVP, but I mean, I'm not going to argue with a computer. And then Jamal gets a 169 offensive rating from this game. 0 of 1 from 2, 2 of 3 from 3, got 2 rebounds, and that was only 20 minutes for him. So, yeah, Al was great off the bench today. I mean, there's no arguing that. Completely agree. Solo Tigers is hell of a night, JG. Let's see. The real JGT. Question from JGT says, the real JGT, what is your favorite mixer bourbon? Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't mix. I don't mix ever. Like ever, ever, ever. I don't even like putting ice in this shit. If I can't drink it like this, I don't drink it. Because when I mix it, how the hell am I going to taste it? I'm going to taste Diet Coke. I'm going to taste whatever the hell else is in it. So in that case, it would be Heaven Hill Bottle and Bond, which I can get for $7 a bottle. That would be my best mixer. I'm just being real about it. I don't like mixing it. I'm not judging you guys. If you mix it, that's fine. I don't do it. Strad.js says Caribbean cask, it's terrible. I mean, again, it was in theory only. So if you say it's terrible, I'm not going to touch it because I really wasn't inclined to touch it anyway. I just thought it was interesting sounding. But, okay. Since you said so, I won't touch it. I won't worry about it. Hootie G says, no mixer, you're the man, Cat Daddy. Dude, have you guys watched the show? I don't drink anything except this. I do drink water afterward. And I do that to stay hydrated. It helps me avoid hangovers. I'm at my nephew's house. And I think he's playing guitar downstairs. I doubt y'all can hear it, though. But anyway. Let's see. D. Stutzman. My man, D. Stutzman. I joined a little late, but enjoyed the banner, bro. I hope the interview went well for your daughter. Thanks for doing this while you're on the road. Shoot, my pleasure, dude. I'm sorry that I don't have everything together to do call-ins, to have my microphone, to all that stuff. I'm sorry about that. But I, did the best I could. I appreciate you guys coming out for sure. And of course, D. Adams, Patrick Duke, all of our great super chatters made it a day to remember. That's for sure. I really do hope you guys down in Alabama and into Georgia and maybe even over to the Carolinas are safe today. I know that line of thunderstorms looks really, really gnarly right there on the front edge. Looks like it won't last long, but it doesn't take long to tear your shit up. So you guys, seriously, be careful about this stuff. Don't take it lightly. I hope everything's gone well. It's probably gone through Montgomery now. I've been on the show for coming up on 2 hours now, but I haven't looked. But hope you guys are good. Let's see. Strad DJS says, save your money on the Caribbean cask. All right, dude, I'm ruling it out. I'll take your money. Listen, I didn't want to get it anyway. I was just thinking about it. Ed Darby says, need to shoot better from the line. Absolutely. That would be my big takeaway from this game. Auburn did not shoot the ball well. As far as negatives, Auburn did not shoot the ball well from the line. But Auburn did a lot of great stuff in this game. Kind of a slow start, as we mentioned before. But really played well the last, let's say, 7 or 8 minutes of the first half. Played great the first 5 minutes of the second half. And then, boom, knocked them out. Had that run around the middle of the second half where they had dunks on 4 or 5 possessions, including D'Angelo had one that just nobody was even willing to get in front of him because they were scared. And that's that. So, pretty straightforward game, honestly, which you don't say very often about an Auburn-Georgia game. But that's true. Hootie G says, no mixer. You're the man, Cat Daddy. Yeah, I don't do mixers, man. I just don't. Not only do I not do mixers, I don't do ice. I don't want it cold. I want it like room temperature. That's the way it's meant to be drank, in my opinion. I'm not judging you guys. If you want to put it in a drink, that's cool with me. But if you do it, please don't let it be a great bourbon. Just let it be a cheapie. It's fine. Nobody's going to hate you. I'm not going to judge you. But don't get like 4 rows of small batch select and then be like, I'm going to put this in a Diet Coke. I mean, I feel like that's wasteful. You deserve to taste that stuff straight up because it's hard to make the shit, as I learned at Willett, and it takes a long time to get it set up to where it tastes good. So yeah, I'm going to probably wrap it up here in a minute for real. But I did go to Willett. I mentioned this at the top of the show. I went to the Willett Distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky the other day. Took a little tour. I was shocked at how few people work there. There's 40 people that work at Willett. I'm talking about bookkeepers, gift shop chick, custodian, the 2 guys that work at the coffee shop, and the whole operation at Willett is 40 people. They have like 6 warehouses. They have 5 or 6 vats where they pump in the mash, let it ferment, then run it through the distiller. God bless. I wish I had a picture to show. You know what? I bet I can make this work. I want you guys to see a picture of this. Dadgum, what do I call it? I can't remember the word now. So I always thought that the Willet bottle, if you guys have seen one, I don't have one in front of me, but the Willet bottle was just kind of like a clever marketing tactic. It's called a pot still, and so it kind of has a long neck and a fat bottom. And it would take me forever to get this picture on the computer, so I'll just show it to you like from my phone. But this is what the actual pot still looks like, and I was blown away. You guys can see that. That's the actual Willet pot still. Like that's the one pot still they have that makes the bourbon that you drink. There's one. It's that one right there. And guess what? It looks just like the freaking bottles. I thought it was a clever marketing tactic, but it's not. These are all the vats. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm going to try to make it as big as I can. Those are all the vats that they have. So there's like 6 of them. They fill that stuff full of what they call sour mash, which is like corn and rye and some other shit. And it's just like a really loose soup, kind of. They actually let me put my hand in it or my fingers in it and taste it because it's going through the distiller. It's not going to matter that my germs are in it. And it just tastes like ass. But that stuff's just, there's only like 6 of them. And they just sit there about 5 days. And they go through the pot still, come out on the other end. They go into barrels. They go into the warehouse. And they sit there for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. I don't even know. Long time. It's really simple. It's crazy. TD says you should start distilling. I'm not made for that, bro. I'm probably made to work in a gift shop more than I am to be a distiller. But anyway. The Canoe Man says, sound is surprisingly good today. I'm shocked myself. I was concerned. I don't have my camera. I don't have my mic. I can't hear myself in the headphones. I don't even know why I'm wearing them. I have no reason to wear them, but I'm going to wear them anyway. It's just out of habit. I've got a light here that's like a just regular old light. I was really concerned, but I was like, look, man, I love the folks that come on the show. I want to be there for you guys, so did the best I could. Fat Crack, my man, 4th time. Says, what would be your go-to bourbon then? God dang. Well, the best bourbon I got is the Magnus, Joseph A. Magnus. And it's not even a Kentucky bourbon, but it's really good. It's the smoothest bourbon. It's also got, I mentioned earlier, my wife likes smooth, which is cool. She likes smooth bourbon, but she likes stuff that has no bite to it at all. Joseph A. Magnus, if you guys can get it out of state, it's smooth on the front and the back, but it's got a little bit of pop. I just love it. I think Magnus is the best there is, but it's expensive. It's like $100 a bottle. I only have one. I'm only going to have one. I only take a sip of it when there's like real shit going on, whether I'm really bummed out or I'm really stoked about something. But it's my favorite. This Four Roses is really fucking good, though. I'm not going to lie about it. Honestly, dude, I mean, Small Batch Select is what I'm drinking today, but they sell everything from like the yellow Four Roses, which is like the bottom of the barrel. I don't know how much that costs, $25 maybe. I think that stuff's delicious, and they've got various single batch, small batch, etc., etc. That stuff's delicious. Triplewood says Willet is probably the best tasting thing in the cabinet presently. Dude, Willet's good. I got a half gallon. I got a handle, as we would call that in the business, the other day when I was at the factory for $84, which is a lot of money for me to pay for liquor, but it's a half gallon. It's a huge thing, and we're going to put that at front and center. I personally want my Knob Creek Auburn Final Four version to be the front and center item. My friend Joe D, no, my friend Buddy D, my friend Buddy G hooked me up with that one. It's Knob Creek 15-year, but they also have like the Auburn the Final Four logo from this year engraved. It's the Auburn Final Four version. It's got a blue wax tip on it. I'm never going to open it. But that'll be my front and center bourbon for now. I never even had it. TD says the headphones were for aesthetics. I can't hear anything out of them. I'm just used to wearing them for the show, yo. That's all I got. Keeping him eligible says, is this the most lucrative brain drain ever? There is no doubt about it. Can't believe how generous D. Adams was. Patrick D was. Fat Crack has been up in here the whole way. Nick S. Joker. Hornatius kicked us off. Spread Attack U18 has been here. I thank you guys so much for that support, yo. Who am I missing? I know I'm missing somebody. Those are the big ones. But man, I'm just so grateful, guys. I don't know what to say. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I just thank you guys so much for being there. I will wrap it up. I don't really have much else to say. We've kind of gone through the basketball thing. Game this week, game midweek, 8 o'clock against Alabama on the 15th. It's going to be a tough one. Alabama's been playing good basketball lately. Auburn obviously has too, but Auburn has trouble in Tuscaloosa a lot of times. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on that game. I'll be watching that one with my eyes peeled. Hey now. So we're going to wrap it up, guys. I thank you very much for watching the show live from Lexington, Kentucky, which is where the show was produced today. I'm here at my nephew's pad. I'm so stoked that we were able to get the show in. His internet is solid but not great. We did have some drop frames, but that's okay. We've been going for an hour and 50 minutes now, and I'm grateful. Really 989, who was one of our great super chatters, says, I forgot about the brain drain today. Hey, man, come in here for the next one, bro. And we appreciate you very much for your support of what we do here on the Brain Train. TD says Bunker Caravan in Tuscaloosa. we got to do a brain drain on site, man. The Bammers would love that shit, I'm sure. Take the Scooby van. Hell yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for sticking with me, even though I couldn't take callers, even though I didn't have my mic, even though I didn't have my camera. Appreciate that. We'll be driving home early in the morning, trying to get back to Montgomery around noon. That would be my goal. I'm going to tape a brain drain. I know very few of you care, but I do a show with Neil McCready called The Brain Drain. I'm sorry, called G-Pits, Greatest Pod in the South. We'll be taping that tomorrow afternoon. We have a new sponsor in the new year who's really excited in the show, and we're really stoked to tell you guys about that too. So for those of you who are in that show, we'll have a new one coming out either Sunday night or Monday morning. So anyway, guys, if you guys are out there in Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, seriously, keep an eye out for the weather, maybe even Tennessee. Keep an eye out for the weather. I don't want you guys, just be safe, all right? Seriously. I know Jeremy E. said earlier his kids had the helmets on. They were getting ready, preparing for the worst. I think that's a good idea in light of the things that have gone down in the state of Alabama in the last 12 months. But I appreciate you guys. We'll check you out next time. I promise I'll be home. I have all my equipment. I'll be in a tie. I'm sorry I wasn't today. Anyway, guys, appreciate you all, especially our super chatters. Patrick D. Adams, huge, man. Hornatius kicked us off. Fat Crack. Nick S. Joker. Stu Pup. Appreciate you guys. All of you guys. For being part of the chat. For being super chatters. For being subscribers to auburnsports.com. Thank y'all. Peace.